Speaking on the ecosystem of energy and mobility, please join me in welcoming the Chairman and Director of the FuelChoices Initiative, Eyal Rosner.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. With your permission, I'd like to thank you again for joining us. It's great to see all of you here. This is our third year, and we are definitely the biggest one. I think we have about 1,400 registered, so welcome again. What I'd like to do in the next 20 minutes or so is talking about how we, the FuelChoices Summit, see the future. As most of you know, this area is full of people from very different disciplines, sometimes not even related to one another. And we try to kind of bring together everything under the one umbrella, which is also quite unique in that respect. So I think in the end of the day, we kind of share the same vision. But before we go forward, I'd like to kind of go a little bit back.
You've got to come back with me.
Where?
Back to the future.
Wait a minute, what are you doing, Doc?
I need fuel. Go ahead, quick! Get in the car!
No. Look, Doc, I just got here, okay? Jennifer's here. We're gonna take the new truck for a spin.
Well, bring her along. This concerns her, too.
Wait a minute, Doc. What are you talking about? Now, what happens to us in the future? What, do we become assholes or something?
Oh, no. You and Jennifer both turn out fine. It's your kids, Marty. Something's got to be done about your kids.
Hey, Doc, you better back up. We don't have enough road to get up to 88.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
This is very different. This is very different where we actually are, aren't we? Anyway, transportation and energy concept actually didn't change over the last century. We still use the same concept of, driver-centric. We still use oil. Actually, 96% of the world transportation depends on oil. And this is one of the reasons this whole initiative started. But apparently, over time, there are many other issues. The urbanization become a mega challenge around the world. And that's also relates to congestion and pollution. What you see in this chart on your right-hand side is how Tel Aviv pollution looks like during a holiday of Yom Kippur. Basically, when you have no cars, you have no pollution. As simple as that. Lucky to us, we are in a situation where we have plenty of technology coming. And before we go and talk about technology, I want to ask you if you know who is this guy. Any idea? Well, this guy, 40 years ago, invented what we all carry in our pocket today, the cellular. And I don't know for sure, but I don't think he had any idea what kind of disruption he prepared for us. And it's now almost common knowledge that transportation and connectivity equals disruption. But it wasn't the case a few years ago. And one of the things I would like to do in the next couple of slides is talk to you about what does it mean for transportation in general and for the energy that powers the transportation. There are several trends going forwards on that respect. I'm going to talk a little bit about each one of them. And the first one is the sharing economy. I'm sure everybody here used Waze. It's like almost how we lived without Waze before, right? There are many other solutions that we know of. Uber and Via and GetTaxi, they're all using the same concept of sharing economy. The concept is actually very simple. Once the network effect kicks in, the value of the service is get higher, utilization is get higher, and so therefore the service provider can actually reduce the price and offer you it in a much extensive way. And we actually see the numbers that Uber present on San Francisco actually growing the number of users and the market as a whole. The outcome of that is actually very interesting. We see the decline in the number of youngsters who actually buys cars. And this is obviously has a major effect on everything, from the fact that we have less congestion and less traffic and obviously less oil. The next and also correlated topic is the multimodal networks. Suddenly, because we have this, this connectivity with us, we can do what's called transportation on demand. This is an example from Finland, where they actually use their mobile to call whatever they need, transportation on demand, so they can alter the route and decide where they want to go and exactly how they want to reach it. And there are many other solutions. And what we see is that there's also all sorts of tools to optimize such services. And this is just one example from Israel. Move It.
Say hello to Move It, your local transit app. Live departure and arrival times keep your life in sync with your mobility. Share your local knowledge to keep fellow riders up to date on service changes and delays. Discover the best way to get there, wherever your day takes you.
This company is collecting, which pretty much can help us also improve the traffic and the transportation system as a whole. And that brings us to the next phenomena, which we call door-to-door solutions. Suddenly, because of that, we can offer solutions which not only gives you the major part, which might be the bus or the train, but it can also offer you something which connects you from one point to another. We see the OEMs started to enter this area, whether it's car service businesses or others. But this is an example from Toyota. They're already piloting it in France and in Tokyo.
With Toyota's vision, personal vehicles and public transportation can be optimally connected and integrated so that people and the cities they live in can flow comfortably. HAMO is our initiative to design such a transportation system. HAMO is characterized by multimodal movement, where a variety of mobility is utilized according to the traffic situation. In support of this system, an eco-friendly sharing network of compact mobility is realized as a complement to public transportation. HAMO Ride.
What we do know is that cars become almost irrelevant when it comes to big urban areas. And we start to see other solutions. E-bikes, for example. In Israel, I think the numbers reach about 200,000 e-bikes, and we're just talking about maybe 4 or 5 years. And it's going to grow fast. But there are other solutions. We already know that there are other solutions all over the world. I want to show you 2 examples from local startups trying to come up with new ideas of mobility. So as you see, there are plenty of ideas. This is just, tip of the ice. Let's move on. Another very big thing is the connectivity. The good thing about this is actually technology that exists. The adaptive cruise control is something that will be, I think, mandatory in a few years in every car. Together with the in-vehicle connectivity, allows us to improve the transportation, the traffic, in a factor of 3 almost, which is enormous. And actually think about that, it's actually maybe even worthwhile to government to subsidize it, to make it, reach the market faster. And, everybody's talking about driverless car, autonomous cars, whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, there's a good reason behind that. If researchers are right, we are talking about 8 out of 10 cars which we can take out of the street. This is obviously enormous numbers, and that could change our life dramatically. Most of our commute we're going to do using this little pod or whatever we're going to call them. But there are many other aspects. The good thing about that, it's going to grow on us. It's not like suddenly we're going to wake up one day and everybody's have their own autonomous driving. No, we will have features that will come slowly, gradually, will actually make our life much easier. Think about the fact that almost everybody is texting while driving, even if we don't, admit that. Suddenly we can actually do it, It's going to make it easier. But there are other solutions that come here, and it should save us a lot of time, and it's going to disrupt a lot of industries. Just think about what's happening to parking. Suddenly we don't need parking because the car is moving on to the next customer. So what's happened to insurance? As insurance numbers should, drop, insurance casualty should drop dramatically. And logistics, suddenly we don't need these drivers that, bring us the package, and so forth. So there are many, many other issues that relates to autonomous driving, and you will hear about this here tomorrow from both the guys who develop the technologies and the actual users. But I want to move now to slides. Something wrong with the slide here. I want to move to electric vehicle. What we see is how electric vehicle is become a mega trend. We know now that this is an example from 2 months ago, where Nissan basically launched a car, same price, only almost 30% better in terms of the range. And this goes on and on. We see Tesla declaring the price of kilowatt hour will drop to almost $100 per kilowatt hour. That's actually exceed any prediction that we had in the past. And that's going to make a lot of change. And if our calculation is right, within 5 or 6 years, we will see average EV car cost average US car. And that's obviously enormous, because that makes EV much more accessible to most of the crowds. Now, a lot of people ask me how smart mobility relates to, reduced fuel consumption. And what I like to do in this short slide is to explain a little bit about it. What we see is that everything is actually interconnected. We have all this, computer power that basically helps almost every field in our lives. It's true for the fields I wrote here. And then there are other issues like sensors that become very cheap and small, and connectivity that allows us to move forward on that. But while by each one of them is very important, if you combine them together, suddenly you get a lot of added value and a lot of up to speed of new, I would say, trends. The storage, as we already said, the fact that we can have lighter vehicles, and I think the i3, the BMW i3 is a good example of how they use light vehicles to basically make lighter car and therefore better EV. New mobility model, and again, sensors and connectivity allows us to have affordable self-driving systems. So all connected together and bring us to a better EV, better in terms of price, in terms of range and everything, and obviously, hopefully, less traffic, and of course, less fuel. So if you think about it, everyone who drove EV in the past knows that the experience is great. You can have a sedan type of car driving like a Ferrari. So once the price will come down, and it will, we will see most cars over the next 15 years, to my point of view, are EV on the streets. I want to move now to the other parts of the transportation area market, which is, private vehicles are only less than half. We still have other sectors who sometimes need other solutions because EV is not almost relevant for them. And what I'd like to do quickly here is run through some of the things that we see. Natural gas, of course, very good, solid technology, as long as you have it. Not every country have it. Israel, for example, we are in the process to convert about 3.5–4% of our vehicles, and that will replace about 25% of our fuels. And that is massive. But natural gas doesn't end here. We have all sorts of future technologies, like dimethyl ether, we'll hear about it tomorrow, gas to liquid, again, and methanol, which we in Israel piloting for the last couple of years. There are other countries like China who are already using it for quite some time. And together so we moved to basically liquid fuels. In face of it, liquid fuels was supposed to be the most easier and convenient way to replace because we can actually use the same infrastructure. The truth is that whether it's biofuel or synthetic fuels, we still face a lot of challenges. We're probably going to hear from one of the winners of our Samson Prize today, Professor Kisling, a little bit more about it. But the challenge is still there in many cases. But we will see some segment of the market, this is the only solution, like jet fuel, for example. And we're also going to see some geographic location with a lot of abundant, cheap energy that can come as a biofuel, or maybe not in other ways. So the trend as we see it is pretty much segmented, but also geographically located. If you have Brazil, you have cheap sugar, you will use methanol. If you are in Israel, if you have cheap natural gas, you will use natural gas and so forth. But at the end of it, I think the most important part is the innovation and the digital world, where we see basically a lot of innovation that can actually change the way we move and the change we behave. And in the long term, what we see is moving away from internal combustion engine, moving away from steel vehicles, moving away from oil, into kind of a shareable electrified vehicles. There are obviously, this change going to have a lot of casualties, but also a lot of opportunities. And all these markets are actually face this disruption. This is why, one of the reasons why we're so excited about what we see here, because there are a lot of opportunities here. And just to show you how thinking can be different and how it's actually happening these days, I want to show this short slide. I like this movie mainly because of the out-of-the-box thinking of what you guys saw here. The next thing is a little bit about Israel. Israel never had the transportation industry. We never have OEMs or even tier ones in Israel. But we do have a lot of other technologies. And what's happening in the transportation world right now is basically playing to the strength of the Israeli high-tech industry, whether it's sensoring, vision, big data analytics, and so forth. And therefore, we see suddenly over the last couple of years, flourishing of a lot of new startups. Some of them you probably heard, some of them you'll hear over the next 2 days. Big companies like Mobileye or Waze, and some newer ones like Move It, different approaches. We're very proud to be part of this community. I won't be able to finish here without the last word from Marty.
Doc, where are we? According to my calculations, this is the year 2015, Marty, the future. So you haven't invented flying cars yet?
No, we have not, yeah.
You at least have hoverboards?
They call them hoverboards, but they're not really hoverboards. Yeah.
Did you achieve peace in the Middle East?
Oh, no, no, no.
Well, Doc, it seems like 2015 kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Well, maybe 2015 sucks, but the future looks amazing. Thank you very much.